All right, Eagles Nation, listen up because things are starting to heat up in Philadelphia. The Birds might be sitting in a solid spot right now, but you know how it goes in this league. One injury, one bad game, and suddenly depth becomes the biggest conversation of the week. So today, we're diving into some potential free agents that could make a real impact if the front office decides to make a few late-season adjustments. No gimmicks, no fluff, just pure football talk the way real fans want it. Now, let's start with a question for the diehards out there. How long have you been riding with this team? Because if you've been through the ups and downs, the heartbreaks, the near misses, and the unforgettable Super Bowl run, you already know that this franchise doesn't sit still when it smells opportunity. And Howie Roseman, that man is always cooking something up behind the scenes. So picture this. The trade deadline is gone. The playoff push is around the corner, and the Eagles are eyeing a few key veterans still out there on the market. Maybe not flashy names anymore, but proven players who can fill important gaps and bring some experience to the locker room. Let's start right where it matters most, tight end. One name that makes perfect sense is C.J. Uzomah. You remember him, right? Big body, 6'6", 262 pounds, a physical presence who was with the team last year. Now, he's never been that highlight reel, jump ball kind of tight end, but what he brings is toughness and solid blocking. And honestly, that's exactly what Philadelphia has been missing behind Dallas Goedert. Goedert's an elite player, no debate there. But every time the Birds go jumbo or heavy formation, it feels like they're just missing that extra anchor who can seal the edge or open a running lane. Grant Calcaterra is still developing and hasn't shown much as a blocker. Cam Latu has been filling in from the practice squad and has done a decent job, but when it comes to playoff caliber football, decent doesn't always cut it. If the Eagles want to load up for those physical matchups in December, a veteran like Uzomah could easily slide in and do the dirty work. He's familiar with the playbook, knows the staff, and understands the culture. That's the kind of plug-and-play addition that doesn't take weeks of adjustment. Now, shifting to the trenches, because if you know Howie Roseman, you know that's where he always starts building. The interior offensive line has held up, but it's fair to say it's one or two injuries away from becoming a real concern. That's where someone like Brandon Scherff comes into the picture. This guy's resume speaks for itself. A former first-round pick, 5-time Pro Bowler, and 1-time first-team All-Pro. He's tall, powerful, and still has some gas left in the tank. Even last season with Jacksonville, he logged over 1,000 offensive snaps and didn't allow a single sack. That's reliability you can't buy every day. Maybe his best years are behind him, but for a team chasing another Super Bowl appearance, that kind of experience can make the difference between a strong finish and a late-season collapse. Imagine having a player like Scherff in the rotation, ready to step in if someone goes down, or even to add competition in practice. That's the type of move that championship organizations make quietly but effectively. And let's not forget the other side of the ball. Defense wins games, and corner depth has already been tested this season. With some veterans being shuffled around before the deadline, Howie's strategy has been clear. Keep the secondary stocked. There's one veteran corner still sitting out there who could make things interesting, and that's Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, he's not the same lockdown guy who once won Defensive Player of the Year back in 2019, but the man still knows how to read a route and play smart football. Gilmore's experience alone could be gold for a team like the Eagles. At 35 years old, he's been through every kind of matchup, faced elite receivers, and still managed to hold his own last season. When you're talking about late-season adjustments, sometimes leadership and football IQ are just as valuable as raw speed or athleticism. And let's be honest, Philadelphia's secondary could always use a steady veteran presence to help the younger guys hold their own when the pressure ramps up. Speaking of corners, how about a little nostalgia with a twist? Asani Samuel Jr. is starting to make noise on the free agent radar. And for anyone who grew up watching his dad pick off passes in midnight green, that's a fun thought. Samuel Jr. has had some health setbacks, including that scary neck and spinal issue. But reports say he's been cleared and is starting to visit teams again. When healthy, the kid is dynamic, great instincts, smooth coverage, and he's got that same gambler's mentality that made his father famous. He might not be the most physical tackler, but when the ball's in the air, he's dangerous. For a defense that thrives on turnovers and momentum plays, that's the kind of risk-reward player who could flip a game in one snap. Imagine him rotating in with Slay and the rest of the group, giving the Eagles another weapon on the outside. But here's a name that might be flying under the radar: Justin Simmons. How he's still unsigned at this point is honestly wild. He's one of the most consistent safeties in the league, a former All-Pro who's seen it all in Denver. And guess what? He's already familiar with Vic Fangio's system. The connection is there, the scheme fits perfectly, and the Eagles could seriously benefit from his veteran leadership at the back end. Right now, the safety room has potential, but not much experience. Reed Blankenship is solid. Mokuba and Sidney Brown have upside, but injuries have left the depth chart thin. Adding Simmons would instantly give the defense more flexibility. Allowing Fangio to mix up coverages and disguise looks the way he loves to do. It's one of those signings that makes the entire unit smarter overnight. What's interesting is that all of these potential moves share a common thread. They're not about chasing big names just for the sake of headlines. They're about finding pieces that fit the identity of the Eagles: physical, smart, and unselfish players who buy into the system. Philadelphia isn't looking for drama. They're looking for depth, reliability, and the kind of experience that helps when the weather turns cold and every snap matters. When you look at this roster, the talent is already there to compete for another Super Bowl. But that's the thing about championship windows. They don't stay open forever. It's about keeping the machine running smoothly, making smart additions, and never getting too comfortable. Because as soon as you think you're safe, another hungry team is right there waiting to take your spot. So, whether it's Uzoma coming back to help block in heavy sets, Scherf reinforcing the line, Gilmore bringing veteran leadership, Samuel Jr. adding that spark in the secondary, or Simmons stabilizing the safety unit, one thing is clear: this Eagles team is built to stay aggressive. The front office knows it, the players know it, and the fans definitely know it. And that's what makes this franchise special. They don't just react, they anticipate. They see where the cracks might form and patch them before anyone else notices. That's why year after year, Philadelphia stays in the mix, always fighting, always ready for the next challenge. Now let's talk about what all this really means moving forward, because the Eagles aren't just chasing another playoff berth. They're chasing legacy. This is a team that wants to prove it can sustain greatness, not just flash it for a single season. Every move matters. Every adjustment defines the direction of the franchise, and that's what makes this stretch of the season so fascinating. The front office knows it, the coaching staff knows it, and the veterans in the locker room definitely feel it. This is when experience pays off and where the right roster tweak can make the difference between heartbreak and another parade down Broad Street. If you look around the league, the top teams all share one thing in common: depth. It's not just about having stars. It's about having players who can step in and play meaningful snaps without the whole system breaking down. That's why conversations about guys like Uzoma, Scherf, Gilmore, or Simmons aren't just filler. They're the kind of strategic discussions that championship teams have behind closed doors. Howie Roseman's always been a master of thinking 2 steps ahead, building a roster that's not only strong today, but also prepared for what's next week or even next season. Take Uzoma again, for example. A player like him might not light up the stat sheet, but his value shows up in the little things. When you need that extra blocker to spring a run on 3rd and short, when you want to run a play-action look that sells the defense completely, that's when he earns his keep. That's how the Eagles' offense stays balanced. You can have all the explosive receivers and creative play designs in the world, but when you need to grind out tough yards in December weather, a strong blocking tight end can be worth gold. And on the offensive line, adding someone with Scherf's pedigree could send a message to the rest of the locker room that the organization is still all in. Offensive linemen are the heartbeat of any team built on toughness, and Philadelphia has built its identity around dominating the trenches. Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson have set that standard for years, but you can never have too many leaders in that room. A veteran like Scherf stepping in, even in a supporting role, reinforces that mentality. Protect the quarterback, control the line of scrimmage, and wear opponents down. On defense, the possibilities get even more intriguing. Think about how Fangio likes to build his units. He values discipline, communication, and versatility. A player like Justin Simmons fits that perfectly. He knows how to disguise coverages, communicate shifts pre-snap, and stay calm in high-pressure moments. Younger players like Brown and Mukuba can learn a ton from a guy like that. It's not just about stats. It's about having someone back there who understands the chess match between safeties and quarterbacks, someone who can recognize patterns before the ball is even snapped. And what about the cornerback situation? Bringing in a veteran like Stephon Gilmore might not be about playing every down. It could be about situational football. Imagine having him rotate in for specific matchups or even mentor some of the younger corners in film sessions. When you've played at his level and seen every offensive look imaginable, your knowledge becomes an asset just by being in the room. Philadelphia's secondary has talent, but adding experience could bring the consistency that sometimes wavers in tough games. The idea of Asani Samuel Jr. joining the team adds another layer to this discussion. There's something poetic about it, isn't there? The son of a former Eagles legend potentially returning to the same city where his dad made unforgettable plays. But it's more than nostalgia. Samuel Jr. brings energy, swagger, and a fearless mentality to every snap. If he's truly healthy, that's the type of young, hungry player who fits right into what the Eagles' defense wants to be: aggressive, instinctive, and always around the ball. The truth is, the Eagles don't need to overhaul their roster. They just need to fine-tune it. That's what separates smart organizations from desperate ones. They understand timing. They know when to hold and when to strike. And with the postseason picture starting to form, every front office move will send ripples through the locker room. Adding a veteran tells your players, we're serious. We're not just content with being good. We want to be great again. The hunger in this city demands it. You can feel it every Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. You can hear in the chants, the boos, the roars of frustration when a drive stalls, and the explosion of noise when a big play hits. Philadelphia doesn't just watch football, it lives football. That's why the bar here is higher than anywhere else. Fans expect excellence, and when you're in midnight green, that pressure isn't a burden, it's a badge of honor. So as the season moves forward, the question becomes less about whether the Eagles can win games and more about how they plan to stay sharp. The roster already has elite talent on both sides of the ball, but the grind of the season can wear teams down. That's where adding reinforcements can be a masterstroke. It's not about panic moves, it's about preparation. And when January football arrives, the teams that survive are the ones that thought ahead, the ones that filled every weak spot before it could be exploited. Howie Roseman has shown time and time again that he's not afraid to take calculated risks. He's willing to bring in players who might be overlooked elsewhere, betting on the Eagles' culture to get the best out of them. That's exactly how this franchise has stayed competitive for so long. And when you mix that front office strategy with a locker room full of veterans who know how to win, it creates the perfect environment for another deep playoff run. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. A quiet buzz has been spreading through the NFL world this week, and now it's beginning to sound more like a roar. Sources close to the league are whispering that the Philadelphia Eagles have finalized a stunning trade with their longtime rivals, the Dallas Cowboys. The deal reportedly brings offensive lineman Cooper BEEBE to Philadelphia, a move that's already sparking heated debates across fan bases and front offices alike. Nothing official has yet been released by either team, but insiders suggest the agreement was sealed late Wednesday night after several days of intense negotiation. The Eagles, known for building one of the most dominant offensive lines in football, seem eager to reinforce their trenches once again. BEEBE, who has been quietly developing into one of Dallas's most dependable interior linemen, is said to fit perfectly into Philadelphia's aggressive blocking scheme. The trade has all the makings of a rare NFC East shockwave. Rival teams in the division seldom engage in player swaps, especially involving young, high-upside talents. That's exactly what makes this move so intriguing and, for many Cowboys fans, so unsettling. According to reports, Dallas was reluctant to part ways with BEEBE, but front office pressures and cap considerations may have forced their hand. Meanwhile, the Eagles' front office, led by Howie Roseman, appears to have pulled off yet another unexpected coup, strengthening an already formidable roster for a postseason push. Around the league, reactions are mixed. Some analysts view the trade as a calculated gamble by the Eagles, banking on BEEBE's continued growth and versatility. Others see it as a rare misstep for the Cowboys, who might have just handed a key piece of their future to a division rival. For now, both teams remain silent, fueling speculation that final details, perhaps involving draft picks or conditional clauses, are still being ironed out. If confirmed, this move could go down as one of the most talked about trades of the season. One thing is certain: when the Eagles and Cowboys meet again, the line of scrimmage just got a whole lot more interesting. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.